They don't want us to have a choice, and now they're planning to take your rights. Now, if somebody asks you about the First Amendment, what would you say? You probably talk about free speech and how all of us are entitled to our own opinions, right? However, if you go by this idea, then there's a very good chance that globalists and climate change activists will probably have you in their crosshairs within a short period of time. You see, while guys like me talk about the reality of driving an electric car, whether it's a Rivian, Tesla, Ford, GM, these folks, they're doing their very best to deplatform us and to make it seem like we're being funded by oil companies. The movement to discredit content creators who want to share the truth is being led by the Center for Countering Digital Hate. I can't make this stuff up, guys. So one of their spokespersons is none other than Mark Ruffalo. Check this out.
Big Oil has a new playbook, but we're on to it. More than ever before, we see climate disasters happening all around us. The climate crisis is now undeniable, and that's a big problem for Big Oil. So now instead of getting their internet goons to deny climate change, they're getting them to deny something else. They're going after the solutions we need to transition to a safer future, like renewable energy and electric vehicles, and they're waging personal attacks against accomplished scientists. How do we know this? The Center for Countering Digital Hate has analyzed thousands of hours of climate-denying talking points on YouTube. Researchers found that Big Oil has found a new way to manipulate the public. Make no mistake, Big Oil is doing this because they know we're winning. They're getting their asses handed to them. Let's keep winning, and let's keep spreading the truth about climate change.
Now, I know, Ruffalo is a beloved character of the Hulk, and he's been in a lot of different movies, but he's also a climate activist, meaning that he wholeheartedly supports the initiative to transitioning onto renewable energy. Now, you guys know that I talk about electric vehicles and their efficiency, but 10 times out of 10, I have the data to back it up. And no, I'm not funded by any big oil company or anything like that. To be honest with you guys, content creators take a risk by going against the grain, and it shows with the research that's coming from the Center of Countering Digital Hate. So it says here that there's a new way to deny climate change. And if you follow these people that deny that renewable energy is the future, then you're part of the problem. So basically their research consisted of reviewing more than 12,000 YouTube videos posted from like 2018 to the start of September 2023. So well within that time that we too have also talked about renewable energy. Now they also use AI tech to kind of figure out which of these channels contain language that they consider to be dangerous in terms of climate denial. The problem they say is that these content creators are focusing on the solutions that they're putting forth, much like renewable energy and EVs, electric vehicles. But I just want to go ahead and ask, weren't countless EVs stuck in frigid weather earlier this year? They couldn't be moved because they were just too cold to charge. I mean, is that denying climate change? Now, it's also worth telling you guys that I went through this entire report and nowhere in it did they actually prove that these channels were funded by Big Oil. They're just saying that this is a fact without providing any actual evidence. So in the same sense, aren't they doing the exact same thing that they said that they didn't want creators to do? To lie? Because their CEO is very passionate about removing these channels from social media. Look at this. So Imran Ahmed, CCDH's CEO, says that digital platforms should put their money where their mouth is, saying that these channels that they consider to be climate haters be demonetized and deplatformed. Now, in some ways, it's basically asking social media platforms to pretty much shut people up because they don't agree with whatever they're saying, even though the same people are presenting data and numbers that have come out from actual research as well. Some actually think it's a little bit hypocritical to think that way because we should be open to everyone's opinion. But I guess that doesn't matter when we're talking about climate, huh? And here's what they had to say recently in terms of how people are denying climate change solutions and how creators are supposedly going against the truth.
This is exactly the kind of content that we were talking about. It's trying to undermine people's confidence in the safety and efficacy of the solutions that we have to climate change, which are to change the way that we get our energy away from fossil fuels and towards other renewable forms of energy like solar, wind, tidal, etc. I think what's so interesting about it, though, is that the reason they're having to do this is because, of course, science has succeeded in persuading most people that climate change is real, that it's man-made. And so the people who oppose action on climate change, and that's ultimately what they do. They're not debating the science in good faith. They oppose action on climate change. They've now said, well, look, if people believe climate change is real, let's just say we accept that, but then tell them the solutions, they're dangerous or they don't work.
Who in particular are they? Is there a driving group behind these people? Are they individuals? How would you define them?
I mean, I think there's two types generally. There are the oil and gas lobby, they're astroturf groups. It's a term used for fake non-profits, fake, scientists that they pay to sort of put out very skewed data sets and skewed research, but also people who just make a buck by producing these videos, putting them on YouTube. And of course, what YouTube and all other social media platforms do is put advertising next to them, and quite often they share that revenue with the content creators.
So does it matter if you present data and research so long as you stand against their narrative? Then you're a part of those being funded by big oil, or you're lying to get a quick buck, right? Do you agree with that? So what do they want us to do? Well, they're calling on the likes of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, X, and of course YouTube. They're calling on them to evaluate their policies when it comes to climate change denial. Because again, if you deny climate change solutions, then you're part of the problem. They also want any and all content that talks about new denial to be completely demonetized, to remove the economic incentive that these channels supposedly have. That, however, begs the question, why would they want to demonetize these channels even though they said that they're being funded by big oil? If big oil is paying them, then why bother trying to demonetize them from, these other platforms? I mean, think about it. Because if big oil funded channels to just kind of just rip apart the solutions that they're introducing for renewable energy, then that would mean that demonetizing them wouldn't hurt at all. This kind of reminds me of what happened during the health crisis. Y'all remember this, I know you do. A time when so many experts were silenced, even though that they were providing actual information and data that they could back up. But since their outlook didn't exactly match the narrative that was being spread at the time, then they were removed from social media platforms and were pretty much made to be irrelevant. I know not everybody's going to be on the same page when it comes to discussions like this one. However, it's always up to you guys. It's up to you to check and research and see if what you're hearing and seeing is the truth, or is it just plain old propaganda?
Monday, San Diego got more rain in 6 hours than they normally get all month, forcing some onto their roofs to escape fast-rising water.
Before I know it's up to my knees, and my neighbors and we all had to figure out what to do.
That's happening in every corner of the U.S., from Fort Lauderdale's staggering floods in April to September, when Brooklyn got 30 days of rain in just 3 hours. That swamped LaGuardia Airport and subway lines across the city.
And I'm really disgusted by it because you can't even get home.
Climate change is driving both these events and the overall trend, with the most destructive floods happening 3 times as often as they once did. Floods causing more than $1 billion in damage hit the U.S. on average every 19 months between 1980 and 2009. But since 2010, they're now happening an average of every 6 months. Last year, there were 4.
I just never have ever in my 40 years seen it like this.
And that is not hyperbole. Climate change is amplifying and accelerating the physics of the water cycle. So the more that humans heat the planet, the thirstier the atmosphere gets, evaporating more water, often dumping that water more quickly, and sometimes all on one community.
So what do you guys make of all this? Now, before I go, I just want to thank you guys for always hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.